I've got a review for you that should throw you for a loop. This is Murs. Now, really, I haven't heard of this guy, and I can't say too much about him. This isn't his first album. He dropped an album in 2015 on Tech Nine's label, and I thought, well, maybe this would be interesting, but it really wasn't. And so obviously, Tech Nine is getting more. I think this decade in particular, Tech Nine's just been bigger than ever, and especially surprising because most people have not had the stamina that he has. Most people last for half a decade and then they're gone. So, but Murs has been around. He's dropped a number of albums. If you look him up, you can probably find his discography and see what you like from there. But I'm just going to let you know I didn't enjoy this album almost at all. I listened to the lyrics and I just wasn't rocking with it. So I'll talk about why, because it's almost to the point of not really wanting to review it the normal way that I do, just because the whole album kind of doesn't have a lot of life to it. So the reason why I didn't like this album so much is because it has a tendency to talk about things and show off like the weaknesses, and it kind of has a viewpoint as if there's strings attached to everything. And I just don't have that same thought. It show like, you think, well, someone gives you a can of soda and it's like, well, that's a good thing. But from that perspective, it's like, well, now I've got to take care of my teeth. Now I have to watch my sugar intake. Now I've got to, make sure I don't get fat. That's kind of the viewpoint as which this album does. And it's just talking about what someone who's in that lifestyle is going through. And I just don't really feel that it's necessary to take the energy out of something that's not that bad to begin with. Now, I'm not saying I didn't listen to the whole thing. I just listened to the songs that I liked and originally liked, and I just couldn't really keep going with it. So if there were songs that I would recommend saying that you could smoke to, I would probably say it'd be PTSD and Two Step. Those are the two best beats on this album. That leads to production. Really, there's 14 songs on here, and there's a good 4 or 5 songs that are worthwhile. PTSD and Two Step are the two best beats on this album. I also halfway liked Mi Corazon, and Okie Dog. Those are like a couple extra ones. But the Unheard Songs, the problem with this album is just that when you actually listen to it, you're thinking, hey, he's going to talk about the fact that he's, dope, he's doing it, but I don't know. It didn't have the same punch. E40 is on this album, and, he's an interesting guy to listen to, but, that it just didn't turn out that well. Most of the time when people have something to say, it's going to be a little bit more in the fray. So that was just something I wasn't quite enjoying. Tech Nine is not even on this album. There's really no one from Strange Music on here, so at least I don't think there is. So I don't recommend this album, but I will say the Unheard Songs would be PTSD, Two Step, possibly Okie Dog, and Mi Corazon. So those are the 4 ones that were kind of had a little bit of buzz, but once you listen to it and you realize that you don't want to go through what the stuff he's saying, that's what takes the life out of it. So I'm gonna give this album a 1.5 out of 10, just because it needs work. You know, if he would approach the mic similar to how Tech Nine does it, and similar to how Ritz does it, and a few of these other guys, he'd probably be a little bit more successful. But really wasn't feeling it that much. So, but I will say, when listening to it, I thought that E40 song at first was like fire, and I was hoping that there would be like 6, 7, or 8 more songs just like that. And he's really the only big name guest on this album, so it's just like I said in an earlier vlog, you need people to back you up in order to prove for why you are liked. And I don't know, there just wasn't enough on this album to make you like him. So the future, this is his newest album, came out 2015. The social score, I think it's pretty much like a 0.5, just because not a ton of people really are going to know who he is, and there's not really any radio songs. There's definitely not radio songs, and there's no big guests, and the production's not good. So this is a bunch of, I can't picture someone, being obsessed with this album. The type of people who listen to rap, I just can't classify it. So can it be topped? Yes. I mean, if it can't, rap's in trouble. But yeah, so I give this album a 1.5 out of 10 and a 0.5 social.